we are particularly pleased to have Dr. Les Parrott III as our speaker. ONU is embedded in his DNA. His grandfather, Dr. A.L. Parrott, served as Olivet's president from 1937 to 1945. It was under his leadership that Olivet moved from its original location in Olivet, Illinois, to this campus here in Bourbonnais. In addition to the speaker's grandfather serving as president, his father, Dr. Leslie Parrott, also served as president of Olivet from 1975 to 1991. Dr. Les Parrott is a 1984 graduate of Olivet. He earned a master's degree in theology and a doctorate in clinical psychology from Fuller Theological Seminary. He's currently a professor at Seattle Pacific University and a fellow in medical psychology at the University of Washington School of Medicine. Dr. Parrott is a prolific writer. He's authored or co-authored more than 50 books, including the gold medal winner, Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts, with his wife, Dr. Leslie Young Parrott, also a 1984 graduate from Olivet. The Parrott's most recent book, The Good Fight, How Conflict Can Bring You Closer, was just released a week ago and is already garnering national attention. His published works have sold more than 2 million copies worldwide in 24 languages. The Parrotts have been featured in the New York Times, USA Today. They've appeared on CNN, The View, The O'Reilly Factor, The Today Show, and Oprah. Each year they speak to wonderful crowds in more than 40 cities, encouraging healthy communication and encouragement. This fall of 2013, the Parrotts will partner with Olivet in launching the new Olivet Nazarene University Center for Healthy Relationships. Would you please join me in welcoming Dr. Les Parrott as he presents our convocation address.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Bowling. I really appreciate that. What an honor to be your speaker here on the 100th commencement at Olivet Nazarene University. It's pretty difficult to exaggerate the love and value in the Parrott household for Olivet Nazarene University. As John just said, my history can be read through the history of this university. Our family can. My grandfather and father, of course, and I grew up on this campus long before I was a student in its classrooms, and the biggest decisions of my life were made on this campus, and the greatest friendships of my life were forged here, my mentors, and I even asked my wife to marry me on this campus in the Kelly Prayer Chapel. Like I said, it's difficult to exaggerate what all of that means to us. When Dr. Bowling asked me if I would consider speaking at today's ceremony, I happened to be in the Kansas City airport. We were on the phone together, and I asked John if he had any advice. He was very quick to give it, by the way. And first thing, he mumbled something about seeing his barber. Do you remember that? And I don't know what that had to do with anything, but he said, well, first of all, Les, he said, you need to keep in mind that nobody comes to commencement to hear the commencement speaker. I've never felt so affirmed in my life. And then he said, the second thing to keep in mind is that to really be a success as a commencement speaker, you need to keep it brief. Again, very affirming. And so in conclusion, truth be told, I asked a lot of people if they could remember who their commencement speaker was and what they spoke about. Very few, just even a few years out when the process could. I posted it on Facebook and Twitter and got very little response on people that had clear memories on that. And I had to admit, class of '84 here at Olivet, I couldn't remember my speaker. I called a classmate of mine in Ohio. I asked him if he could remember, and he could. And he gave me the name and brought back some memories. It was an influential political figure at the time. And I said, Monty, you have any idea what he spoke on? And he remembered. He said, yeah, Les, he said he spoke on integrity. And I said, wow, that's a great topic, good topic for an occasion like this. And he said, well, he said, keep in mind, he said, that man that spoke to us on integrity is now in prison. And That's the truth, right here in Illinois. So who knows what excitement awaits me after today's remarks. I got to be honest with myself. I know you won't remember me and much of what I have to say as the years roll along. And with that in mind, I wanted you to see this video. It's just short. It's just 20 seconds. If we could roll that brief video. That has nothing to do with anything I'm speaking about. I just wanted you to have something to remember in today's remarks. I do have a question for you students that are graduating today. By show of applause here in a moment, I would love to know how many of you have a specific plan. I'm not talking about a dream. You have something lined up. You've got a job you're going into. You've got an internship. Maybe you've been accepted into a graduate program, but you know specifically where you'll be 3-4 months from right now. By show of applause, all right. Congratulations, that's fantastic. Those of you that did not applaud, feel free to smack the people that did. Settle down. I know you're feeling a lot of pressure. This is a big pivot point in your life. You've been going to school all your life, and here you are, and people are asking you, what's happening next? Where do you go from here? What do you got lined up? And the undercurrent of all those questions, of course, is what are you going to do to be a success, right? What are you going to do to live the good life? And when we talk about the good life, we talk about looking good and feeling good and buying more goods. What are you going to do to live the good life and be a success? And I want to remind you briefly here this morning on this very momentous occasion, that really a diploma from Olivet Nazarene University is about far more than success. And I hope you have plenty of it. I know many of you will. But it's about far more than success, it's about significance. You see, success is about getting, and significance is about giving. And I can tell you this as a social scientist that has studied it in depth, the happiest people on this planet are the people that have got a lock on that capacity to give their life away, to find that kind of significance. And it's actually what you preached about last night, to find that capacity to give your life away. And so the question really is, how do you do that? We've already heard some fantastic testimonies last night and even mentioned here at the top of our day together of people that are doing just that. But the question remains, how do you give your life away to create a life of significance? And I believe that the answer is found in great part in the greatest lecture that has ever been given, the greatest sermon that has ever been preached. We call it the Sermon on the Mount. And Jesus gave us something in that sermon that is truly radical. It's revolutionary. In fact, the message was really underscored for me some time ago in, of all places, Rome, Italy. I had a lot of airline miles that were about to expire, since Leslie and I are on the road quite a bit. And I remember I went into the kitchen, I told Leslie, I said, hey, we got to use these miles, we're going to lose them. And she said, that's the last thing I want to do right now is get on an airplane with the boys. And she said, why don't you take your dad someplace? And I said, that's a pretty good idea. I called Dad in Phoenix, and I said, Dad, I got about 6 days on the calendar that are just freed up, and I have an idea. And told him my idea of going to Rome, and I said, I know you've been many times, and you could kind of give me the tour. And he said, son, that sounds like a great idea. He said, let's do that. And I said, well, here's the deal, Dad. I said, if you're willing, I will pick up the airfare if you want to pay for everything else. And Worked out pretty well for me. And we had a great trip. I mean, Dad knows how to travel. And we saw the catacombs, and we went to the Colosseum and the prison cell where Paul was, and we went to the Sistine Chapel, and we literally had a meeting with the Pope. That's just how Dad rolls, and with about 100 other people. But it was fun, and it really was. And one night while we were having dinner in the hotel dining room, Dad reminded me of something I remember studying when I was a student in seminary. I hadn't thought about it for years, but in the days of the Roman Empire, every little kid was required by Roman law to carry a Roman soldier's backpack 1 mile in either direction from his home. And so it was not uncommon for kids in those days to just mark out that Roman mile and put a stake in the ground, kind of put their initials in it so they'd know exactly how far they'd have to go, and set the backpack on the other side of that and go, there, I've done what I'm required to do. And it was such a widespread practice in those days that Jesus used it as a sermon illustration. And he said, when somebody asks you to go 1 mile with them, do something radical. Do another mile that they don't see coming. See what happens in your relationships when you walk the extra mile. Do something revolutionary in your family, your workplace, and go the extra mile. I mean, if you put that into practice, and if you think about that as you head out these doors from Olivet Nazarene University, how do I walk the extra mile? And I know some of you already have great dreams, great plans to do just that, because we walk the extra mile in big, extravagant ways. We also walk it in small ways. Each of us in this room will have the opportunity to walk the extra mile before this day is done. But as you think about your trajectory and the landscape of your future, and you surmise, you look out across the horizon and you think, what am I going to do with my life to be a success? I just pray you won't forget to ask the question, what will I do to make sure my life counts? That it's a life of significance as well. And that's a pretty good barometer, walking that extra mile. But I got to tell you something before I close. It wouldn't be right of me to just close there, because the truth is walking the extra mile isn't easy. Living a life of significance can be challenging, because some days you're going to wake up and you're going to be discouraged. You're going to dream and you're going to have something fantastic that you want to do for God and for His kingdom, and you're going to wake up and almost like that dog that woke up from that dream and ran right into that wall, you're going to run into the wall too. And you go, wow, I didn't know it would be this tough. Because you're going to walk a few steps and people are going to question your motives, and you're going to exert some effort and people are going to poke fun and try to pull you back. I got to tell you, when you try to make a difference with your life, it's not always easy. In fact, I want to close with the sentiment of just 3 words. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. When it's tough, do it anyway. Perhaps the most iconic figure in recent memory of somebody that knew how to give their life away is Mother Teresa. And on the wall of her children's home in Calcutta, she had a plaque that she hung up herself, and there was no author on it, and because of that, over the years, she referenced it from time to time. People began to just associate it with her. They just assumed that she must have written the words, but she didn't. In fact, they were written by somebody just like you. They were written by a college student, a sophomore at Harvard University. His name was Kent Keith, and he wrote the words in 1968. He now lives in Honolulu, Hawaii. I phoned him just to make sure I had the story straight before I shared it with you this morning. But he wrote the words for his fellow students. 1968 was a pretty turbulent time on college campuses, and he wrote the words to be encouraging for those students that were trying to make a difference and live a life of significance. And so he came up with these words that he called the paradoxical 10 Commandments, and somewhere along the line, Mother Teresa got a hold of them, put them up on that wall. In fact, to this day, if you Google them, you'll find them attributed oftentimes to her, but she didn't write them. This student did, college student. I want to close by reading what Kent wrote as a 19-year-old. He said, "People are illogical, unreasonable, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you are successful, you win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. Number 6, the biggest men with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest men with the smallest minds. Isn't that the truth? Think big anyway. People favor underdogs, but follow only top dogs. Fight for a few underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you do help them. Help people anyway. And number 10, give the world the best you have and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best you have anyway. My prayer for you, graduates, is that as you walk across this stage and receive this diploma today and march out through these halls, that you will enjoy a great life of many successes, that you'll live the good life, but that you'll never lose sight of living the significant life, even when it's tough, that you'll do so anyway.